Do you want to get internet from one location to another, maybe from your house into your workshop in the back of your yard, or maybe from your home to another friend of yours down the street? Well, I got two NanoBeams AC 2.4 gigahertz devices from Ubiquiti, and I'm going to show you how to set these up so you can get internet from one point to another. And if that's something that you want to learn how to do, well, stay tuned and I'll show you. Okay, first thing you need to do is order you a pair of these, and a link to doing that is in the description below this video. And when you get this item, you'll have two plugs here. The red one is the one that's got PoE, Power over Ethernet. That one is the one that you plug in a cord. The other end will plug into your device. Just like so. Then you will take another cord and plug into the other side. And for this demonstration, I have a USB to Ethernet. So I can just plug it right into USB and be able to, so I don't have to unplug my internet connection to this computer. Then you would take this cord and plug it into that one. Then you plug in a power cord that comes with this PoE. Plug in the USB, plug in the outlet, and we have lights. Now these come set at 192.168.1.20. Most computers, routers and all, are not set in that range of IPs. So you would have to open up your Ethernet settings, which is right here. Depends on which windows you have. You can go control panel and open up, or you go to the bottom right hand corner of your screen on the internet connection, opening it from there to settings. Now you get to your settings. This one here is the one that's actually got me connected to the internet. This is the one I just plugged in the USB. So we double click it. Oh, sorry. Get ahead of myself. Go to over here and go to change the adapter options. Then you'll see two internets. And this one here is the one that's connecting me to the internet. This one is the one that's trying to identify because I just plugged it in. Double click it. Brings you up this box, properties, open it up, and on the IPv4, double click, you open this box. Then you put it on use the following IP. 192.168.1. You don't want to put on 20 because you don't want your computer on the same IP as the device. So I just used just a 50. Then you hit your tab and it automatically fills that in. That's all you need. You don't need no DNS servers yet, just to be able to log into. Then you say OK on there. OK, close. Close there. Then you open up a browser, and we go to the address of the device itself, which is 192.168.1.20, and that will get you into the radio. And you select your country, which mine's going to be United States, English, agree to the terms, use a username. This is not what I usually use, but I'm going to put it in here anyway, just to 1 through 9. Mixed letters and numbers. Okay, I'll put capital A, B, C, and on the beginning of this, put it on capital A, B, and C, just to use something to get through and get in. Now, go to the settings. Now, we're going to set this one up as the AP, where the internet is going to be sent out from. So we're going to set this up, access point, point to point. The SSID, we just leave it that. You can name it whatever you want to name it. We're going to put it on 40 megahertz. And we like setting that as high as possible, especially on point to point if you really need to transfer high speed. Now, if you're not looking for, real high speed, you're looking for, 40, 50, 60 or something, 20 would work, but 40 is to, some devices will have higher, up to 80. Now, that may be so on this device too after you do a firmware update. And then let's see, everything should be in. The output power depends on how far you're actually away. Usually I put it dead center and just let it try from there. Unless I'm really a long distance, then I'll just crank it right up and then pull back on it later if if I feel that it's don't need to be that high. But pretty much everything on there. Let's see if you want to put a password. Let's see. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Must be 8, so we'll go 7, 8. Let's go 9, same as the login, just to. Okay. So let's see, yep, 1 through 9, just to get this to work. You put in your own password that you remember, because you will need that later when you set up the station to log into this radio. We'll go ahead and save these settings. Then we'll go to the network tab. And I'm not cutting any of this out. This is not, the video is not cut or anything. This is real time how long it takes, which is really not that long, but this is the time it takes to get it to take the settings that we put in it. There we go. So I did not speed that up. That's actually the time. Now we go to network. Put this on bridge, which looks like the default is on bridge because I set this back to factory default. Leave this on simple. Actually, if you're going to do traffic shaping, you have to put it on advanced. But let's go ahead and set the IP. The IP, you can set it on DHCP, which will automatically get a IP from your router that you plug this in that you want to send that internet out to the other device. Now, if you put it on static IP, you have to be sure it's in the range of the router that you plugged into. If it's in the same range, you can't, if it's 192.168.5.1, and if you put 192.168.1.10 as you see here, that's not going to work because it's not in the same range as what your router is. So if you don't want to have to worry about knowing what your IP is, you could put it on DHCP and it will actually get its own IP from your router, which most likely will change just about every time you plug it into that router. The downfall on that is to log back into the radio. If you need to change anything in it, you got to figure out what the IP is, what your router gave to the device. If you put a static IP, you know how to log back into it with knowing the IP. Now, if you can get into your router and figure out which IP it gave it to the radio, then you can log into the radio. Now, we are going to just put it on a static IP and put the DNS 8.8.8.8. And let's see. Then we're going to save these changes. I don't see anything else that needs to be changed. Now, if you want to do traffic shaping, you have to change the configuration mode to advanced, and you see down here, see where traffic shaping down here, you add, and you could put in the speeds that you actually want this radio to send out. Now, I do not set speeds on the APs. I set it on the CPEs, the one that is receiving the internet. So on this, because if you set, say, 5 down, 5 up, well, that's the maximum that this AP will do. And if you set it up on point to multiple point and you do the same thing, then all the CPEs, the maximum they're going to get overall together is 5 up, 5 down. That's why I never set it in the AP. Always let it do it in the CPE. So in this case, don't need traffic shaping. So we're just going to leave this as simple and say save changes. And it's already applied. Services. Now, if you want to see your device in UNMS, that's where you go here. Ubiquity Network Management System. You have to get you a account with UNMS, which is free. Set you one up, and you will get a UNMS key that you click on edit, and a drop down box will come up, and you could put that information in, and it will show up. This device will show up in your UNMS software, so you can actually monitor it, change some of the configuration remotely. Also, the UNMS app, you can monitor it there as well. System, this is where you get your check for your updates of the firmware. This is where you change the name of the device itself if you need to change it right here. We're just going to put right on the end of it AP. Well, it really won't matter because we're not going to put it on UNMS. It's a habit of putting a different name on there because I usually put them in UNMS, but this is not going to be that case. This is just showing the features that you need to set to get it connect to the other device. Set this up as an AP. And let's see. change password, set your time zone, which you can do that here, which mine will be Eastern time. And we can say save. That is what it takes to set up the AP point to point. Now, let me get the other radio and set that up to receive from this device. I want to take this device and go plug it in the wall over there so it'll be active and be able to send out a signal, so when we go set up the station and search for an AP, we will find the one that we have here that we just set up. All right, now when you get the station, after I already set up the AP, you do the exact same thing. You have to go into your configuration and set it to 192.168.1. Something besides 20, because that's what these are set as default. So we already done that as we did the first one. Let's see, let's get into here, go to advanced, log into the radio, set up the country that you're in, agree, continue, username, we're going to use the same one, password, we're going to use the same thing but a little different. We're going to use 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9. We're going to put A B C at the end instead of the beginning. To make it a little different from the other one, just to get in and do this demonstration showing you how to connect it. Now we'll go to the settings over here, go to wireless. This is going to be station, and we're going to say select. There we are right there. We're going to choose that one as the one that we set up and say I like to lock it to the AP. Now when you're doing point to multiple point, I like to select. That way if you ever have to go change the AP, you put in a configuration, all the CPEs will should automatically tie back into the new AP. Now if you tell it to lock to the AP, then it's not going to do it, because the MAC address of the AP that you had up there is not going to be the same as the new one, so it's going to look for that MAC address if you tell it to lock to the AP. Now point to point, it'll do the same thing, but it just depends on if you have access to the CPE, which you only have one. So it's easy to go there and get it to connect to the new one. But if you have point to multiple point and you lock it down to an AP with the password, username, and the MAC address, means you got to go to all of your CPEs and log in to the new AP. If you got 40, 50, 60 or more CPEs, that's going to take you a while. It's easier just to take one AP down, put a new one up, and they all log in. So at doing this, we're just going to lock it into this particular one, because if we have any problems, we only got one radio we got to deal with of logging into a new radio. So we're going to lock it into that one. Even says you have enabled lock to AP option. If you replace the access point, the stations will no longer be able to connect to the new AP. It says it right there, what I just said right there. Right there. So I locked it in, means if I put another CPE up and replace this one, which is the station, and tell it to log into the other one, it won't do it automatically. I would have to come back to this and log into the new AP if I change the AP on this. And it tells you right there as I did that. And set it on 2040. And then you have to put in your password. Save. Changes successfully applied. Now to go to network, I'm going to leave it on static IP, and I'm just going to change this. The other one is 20, so I'm just going to change this one to 21 and say save, because I don't want them both having the same IP. Now, of course, before you deploy these, you need to do a firmware update. Be sure it's the latest one, which all you got to do is click on this. I think it's the system, and go there and ask it to check for updates. Then you can download it and upload the new firmware. And since I changed the IP, I cannot remember if these will actually switch over to the new IP or not. If not, we can put in the IP to get to it. I can't remember if it does or not. It's saying it is connected because I got 4 lights. Doubt if you can see that, this small screen, but it's got 4 lights indicating that it is connected. Now we'll go to 192.168.1.21, because 20 is the other radio. So we don't need to go there anymore. Let's see. We do this. That would get us into the AP, and this gets us into the radio that we're working on right now. Since they are connected, as you can see down there, this is 192.168.1.21. And this gets us into the CPE, the station, the one that is receiving the information. And as you can see, of course, it's going to be very good. You're looking at signal minus 30, minus 37, all the way across the board, 8x, speed of 295. Of course, the other radio is sitting right over there, maybe 5-6 feet, not even pointing this direction. It's just in this area. Now we come over here and log into here as well, which is that right there should be. Yep, that gets us into the AP. Now if we go here, let's see, show you something about speed wise. As you can see here, we got like 288, 284, 280, 290. Now we're going to go over here, and this is set up on to pick up on 20 or 40. So we're going to go here and change the AP to 20. This is the bandwidth, which makes it more narrow. If you got a lot of noise and you need to get a narrow path to get through that noise. Now, of course, that would help it to get through the noise, but it also decreases the speed capability of the devices from point A to point B, from the AP to the CPE. We're just waiting for it to reconnect. As you see, it's scanning for the frequencies. Go there. Okay, there we go. As you can see, that the speed is no longer at 288, 290. It's only 117, 127. Just because we went down to 20 instead of 40. Still same setup and everything, but the speed will be decreased. And how much will it be decreased will depend on the distance from your AP and your station. And right now it says it's 1,968 feet. I don't think so. It's because this one's pointing that direction and the AP is pointing the other direction. So you see that setting the AP at a different frequency here will increase and decrease the speed, but it will increase the chances of getting through noise if you're in a very noisy environment. But that is how to set up a pair of nanobeam AC 2.4 gigahertz radios to have a point-to-point configuration. So you can set one of these up on your home and point it to your shop, point it to a neighbor down the street, as long as you got line of sight or very close to line of sight. Now 2.4 will penetrate trees just a little bit better than 5 gigahertz. So if you got a good amount of trees, I would suggest to go with a 2.4 first, because you've got a better chance of getting through them trees with 2.4 than you do 5 gigahertz. Now I go to, let's see here. Oop, wrong network. Now static, I got it at 192.168.1.20. Now you can change this to DHCP, and it will get a IP from your router that you have the AP, not the station, but the AP, the first one we set up. It will get an IP from your router, and then it will send out the signal to your station and transfer the internet. Now if you want a seamless setup, you can set the IP here, static IP, to an IP that your router is set on. If it's in the range of 192.168.5.1 all the way up to 254, you can pick 192.168.5.100, and then you can set up this one, receiving it, as 101, and that way it'll be all in the same range. That way you can actually, whatever you have connected onto the station, you can actually log back into your router if you need to, or if you have a server. Everything is on the same IP. Just like if you took a cord from your friend's house and ran it across the street and plug it into your router, they'll get an IP that is the same range as your router is, but you're doing it wirelessly. That way, if they need to log into a server for any reason, if you got a movie server or whatever you got going on, they'd be able to log into it, because it's just like they took a extension cord of a network wire and ran across the street. But if you don't need to log into it, you just need to send internet, then you can put it on the AP, set it on DHCP so it gets on IP, and then it will take that internet and send it over to this one. And you can put this on a static IP, or you can put it on DHCP if you want this to hand out IPs. Just depends on what your setup is and what you need. But that's how you set it up from point to point. And these will go, I think, like 6-8 miles, I do believe, something like that. Let me look and see. I want to say 6-8 miles. Well, according to the data sheet, as we see here, on the Ubiquity's website, which is this one right here, as you can see, we have the let's see, network. Let's see, where is it? Yeah, the NanoBeam 2 AC13. NanoBeam 2 AC13. This one right here. It says it will go 15 plus kilometers and do speeds 330 plus megabits per second. And 15 kilometers in miles is 9.3 miles. So 9 miles. These will transfer 9 miles. Now, what settings you have to have it on to get it that far? You got to have a line of sight, of course. If you don't have a lot of noise, you can crank it wide open and set it on the highest of 40 and see what kind of speed you get. If you're real noisy environment, you can set it on 20. Every location is different. You just have to see what's in your area. But that is how you set up point-to-point with the NanoBeam AC 2.4 gigahertz. Pretty much Ubiquity equipment, the firmware will let you set up just about any of their equipment as point-to-point or point-to-multiple point. It just depends on your needs. It's like these has a wide range of picking up. If you set this up as a access point, it has a good radius of where it actually can send out the signal. And if you get something else, say a light beam, a dish, it's pretty much pointing directly straight. You're not going to be able to send out signal to the sides that much. That's when you come up with sectors. It's got 45, 60, 90, 120. So anything in 120 radius from that AP, you can actually get a CPE to tie to it. So every situation is different, and you have to pick the right equipment for your setup. The firmwares are pretty much basically the same as setting it as point-to-point or point-to-multiple point in these devices. So if you get an NanoBeam AC 5 gigahertz, you can follow the same steps and be able to do the same thing. The only thing I see really different sometimes is the IP that it's defaulted to. Some of them are different that you have to use than the others. So that's one thing you got to figure out to get into the radio. Then after you get into it, it's pretty much real simple to set it up. But that's how you do it. And hopefully this helped you. If you got any questions, and if you want to buy a pair of these, look in the description. There's a link to Amazon, so you can buy yours. It don't cost you any more. It just helps out the channel a little bit so we can continue to make videos like this. So it can help you out to get your internet sent miles and miles away as a WISP or point-to-point. Until the next video, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.